Welcome to PBCJ's A Different Life, your window into the world of persons with disabilities. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Hendricks. In this episode, the first of two parts, we will be taking a look at the numerous support systems available not only to persons with disabilities, but to their loved ones, friends, and colleagues. In just a moment, we'll be speaking with our first guest, Chairman of the Combined Disabilities Association, Reverend Deacon Arthur Taylor. Stick with us. We will be right back. Welcome back to A Different Life. I'm Dr. Christine Hendricks, and today we'll be talking about the multi-tiered topic of support for persons with disabilities, whether through advocacy, legal representation, rehabilitation, early stimulation, or counseling. There are so many ways in which persons with disabilities can be supported. To help us to delve into this topic, today in studio with me is Reverend Deacon Arthur Taylor, Chairman of the Combined Disabilities Association. Welcome, Deacon Taylor, and thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you very much for having me.
Awesome. Now, I'd like for us to begin by outlining exactly what we mean when we talk about the idea of support, particularly as it pertains to persons with disabilities. What are some of the ways in which this term can be defined?
Great. Okay, when we speak of support, we are talking about how do we facilitate, how do we empower a person with a disability to maximize his or her own potential.
Right.
To define this, it can be done in so many different ways because you have varying disabilities. Mm-hmm. So you know that for a person who is blind, they would need to be taught how to operate with a cane, how to use the braille writing, mm-hmm. how to use the assistive technologies. Those who are hearing impaired or deaf would certainly need to be taught in the area of sign language. Mm-hmm. Those who are experiencing things like autism would have to have the support of a shadow, especially in extreme cases in educational institutions. There are some persons who are not able to do things for themselves, but at times, be at home or in an institution, they need the kind of support for persons to be there to assist them along. Those who are using a physically challenged would certainly need the use of the different aids to get them to move as we go along. Okay. So it's varying and it's international or global. Mm-hmm. All disabled persons pretty much have the same needs. So how do we support them to become that person to be able to contribute, to live in life?
It is a provision of support to become independent.
Independent.
Okay, awesome,
right.
Awesome.
Right. So, and as I said, that if we look at the area of education, and we can talk about employment, how do we get the place of employment to provide the assistive aid that these persons might need to function? They have the skill, they are qualified, but would definitely need the assistive aid to facilitate them to do that. Okay. So we need to inform our workforces, employees, employers, that they too will be aware and to be able to provide for these aids.
Okay, so the support is dependent on the situation and the disability.
Right.
Okay, so
right.
Tell me, you're the chairman of the Combined Disabilities Association. Tell me about the Combined Disability Association. When was it founded and what is its mandate?
The Combined Disabilities Association was founded in the year 1981. Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember the time of the IYDP, International Year of the Disabled that was designated by the UN. During that time, we found the disabled community being formed, persons coming together. What happened is a watershed period at the time for us as disabled persons, because what used to happen is that most work that was done for persons with disabilities, and they find out that persons weren't in the mainstream of public life, not many of us. So we were left behind. And people would think that they are doing the best for us, and therefore we had to pretty much satisfy with what was being done. But with the change in life, with the opportunities that come along for us to receive better education and become more involved, and as the society is open up to become more inclusive, we disabled persons have become directly involved in leadership, and both for their own selves and also among mainstream society. The Combined Disabilities was formed out of the International Year of the Disabled. And of course, our mandate is there to ensure that we promote and we ensure that the facilitation is made for persons to function within society, that they can be employed, they can experience the opportunity to own a home for themselves, to raise families, to be a part of the different support systems that are there within society. So, and we ensure that equality is there.
Basically, the Combined Disabilities Association is an advocacy body ensuring that persons with disabilities get to participate in society.
Yes, that's one of our main, we come to that, our main mantra, mandate is in the area of access. And of course, we definitely get involved in the area of social life, because you can't be lobbying for people. There are real needs that other disabled persons have, and therefore they come to us. So we have to get involved in the social life of the people.
Now tell me, is the Combined Disabilities Association made up of individuals, or you're the umbrella organization for the varying groups of persons or organizations with persons with disabilities? Well,
the Combined Disabilities Association is made up of persons with disabilities, and of course persons who are close to persons with disabilities, like their parents. You might have a parent who have a child who have a disability, would be a part of the Combined Disabilities, can become as associate members or members. The groups will be, yes, assigned to the association, but most of our activities in terms of voting and all those things is done through individuals.
So if I want to become a member of the CDA, the Combined Disabilities Association, how would I go about doing that?
One, you can be the Combined Disabilities Association can be contacted at because our office is at Ripon Road, 18 Ripon Road right now in Kingston, and of course our telephone number is 929-1177. So persons can, call us and come in and register with us, because our offices are open from about 8 up to about 4 or 3 now that we are experiencing the effects of the pandemic, So we are open. We invite persons to our monthly rap sessions that we have. We invite persons to our general meetings and to our annual general meetings that would be held once per year. But COVID, I put a dampen right now on some of these activities,
Is there a cost? Is there a fee to enable me to join?
Yes, there is a small fee that's charged, so small comparing to the work that we do, I think if my memory serves me well, I'm not sure if we have moved it, but it's between $500 or $1,000. But I don't think it reaches $1,000. That persons can be paid as their dues to the. And these dues really can't go to run the organization of such, but it just gives you the opportunity to feel that you're a part, you have a voice, you can become leaders in your own organization, because this is of the people. It's not done for the people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Deacon. We are together as we work. So we ensure that all persons are aware and sign into and agreed on the path and the effort that we are to be, the organization is to take.
We have to take a short break right now, but when we return, we'll be learning a bit more about the services provided by the Jamaica Association on Intellectual Disabilities. Back in a moment. Welcome back to A Different Life. I'm your host, Dr. Christine Hendricks, and joining me now is Mrs. Marilyn Mccoy, Executive Director of the Jamaican Association on Intellectual Disabilities. Thank you for joining us, Mrs. Mccoy. Welcome.
Thank you, Dr. Hendricks.
Awesome. Now, we've been taking a look at some of the ways in which support can be provided for persons with disabilities. Not only for the person with disabilities themselves, but for those who love them, those who live with them, and those who work with them. And so in this segment of the program, we'll be speaking with you in particular about persons with intellectual disabilities and the services that are available to them. So tell us, the Jamaican Association on Intellectual Disabilities, what is this and how does this association function?
The Jamaican Association on Intellectual Disabilities, and I will use JADE for short, was established in 1956. It's an NGO, and at the time of its establishment, it started out as an advocacy organization. But as the demand for services grew, the association went into service provision. And since 1956, we have been providing services for persons with intellectual disabilities and their families.
Tell me, many persons might not be familiar with the term intellectual disabilities. Can you say exactly who we are talking about and what does intellectual disability entail?
Intellectual disability is a lifelong condition. It starts in childhood, and it is characterized by a number of deficits or deficiencies in two main areas. One, intellectual functioning, and that really is the person's ability to problem solve, to reason, to learn from experiences, to engage in academic learning with much success, the ability to make sense of the world around him. The other area is adaptive functioning. And really what that is, it's a group of skills that will promote independent living. And these skills include the ability to communicate, the ability to take care of self, just to navigate your community and just be a part of a system, and be integrated in your community on the whole.
Okay. So a person who has intellectual disability would need great support or support to some extent?
When we talk about intellectual disability, we are more focusing on the kinds and levels of support that the person needs. Now, one thing about intellectual disability is, yes, there are deficits, but the person can live a fulfilled life based on the kinds and nature of support that he or she is given. When you talk about intellectual disability, there are associated conditions as well, that somebody with intellectual disability may have additional challenges. For example, health challenges, epilepsy, other disorders, autism, those kinds of associated, we call them secondary disabilities. And those conditions may need additional support outside of the intellectual disability.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. So how does JADE facilitate this kind of support to these varying persons?
Okay, when I like to define support, and simply put, support I see as a bridge that takes the person from where the person is at to where he needs to be to experience levels of success and to live a fulfilled life and to develop to his full potential. Now, a support may be a person, it may be a system or a resource.
Right.
Now, when we talk about support, support is very individualized. It therefore means that no two persons may have the same kind of support. And so there are lots of ways in which you can determine the kind of support that a person needs. For example, there are standardized tools available that can detect and tell you the nature of the support as well as the support needs of the person. Right. And then you will look at developing a plan to address those needs. You also, we at JADE have been able to implement initiatives to address those needs. The services that we provide are really support needs driven, right? And so the person with intellectual disability will definitely get the kind of support, and let's talk about some of what those supports are. Educational support, and that's special education.
Right.
The other kinds of support, medical and behavioral support. For example, someone with intellectual disability will experience behavior challenges. And so this person will definitely need to get the support in order to perform in school and to live fulfilled lives out there in the community. We have health and safety support, healthcare. We also look at employment support, social participation support. So the supports are really extensive. The support that will help somebody to live in a community, to be able to navigate his community, know where the services are, know where the kinds of services or places of interest are, so that they'll be able to access the kinds of services that a community provides.
Awesome. So based on how JADE has been, supporting persons with intellectual disabilities over the years, do you have any success stories that you want to share with us?
We have many success stories, but I'll share one that relates to employment support. About 4 years ago, we were engaged in a national project. And we understand that employment has been a real troubling experience for persons with intellectual disabilities. A lot of myths exist out there about levels of productivity of this group of people, whether or not they can work or whether or not they're coming into the organizations to just create havoc. And so what we did in this national project, we introduced our job coaching element.
Awesome.
And what the job coaching component actually did was the coaches would go into the organizations, build the awareness of employers and members of staff in relation to the condition, how to interact with persons with intellectual disability, coordinate or customize the job experience for the person, and then, provide intermittent support. But the intent really was to introduce the employers and staff to who persons with intellectual disabilities are, what their capabilities are, and that I find out is the best way to reduce the myths that surround the productivity level of persons with intellectual disability. That was a very successful initiative. For example, we had 70 young people who were involved in the project, and in that 1 year, we had over 40% of the persons receiving full-time employment.
Awesome.
Yes.
Indeed, a success story.
So definitely, that's employment support. What we have been able to do as well at JADE, we know that going through a number of years within the school system does not really adequately prepare anyone for employment. So we have a number of transition-related programs. We use our social enterprises as work experience points to provide additional training to our young people with intellectual disability and to better prepare them for the world of work.
Well said, Mrs. Mccoy. Thank you so much for sharing with us. Up next, we'll be taking a look at the Jamaica Association for the Deaf and the wonderful work that they do. We will be right back. Welcome back to A Different Life. I'm Dr. Christine Hendricks, and joining us now is Ms. Denise Badro, the Director of the Business Development Division of the Jamaica Association for the Deaf. Welcome to the program, Ms. Badro.
Thank you for having me.
Awesome. Now, in this segment of our program, we'd like to speak of some of the needs and interests of the community of Jamaicans who are deaf through the lens of the JAD. Help us get started by telling us a little bit about the mandate of the Jamaica Association for the Deaf.
Well, the mandate of Jamaica Association for the Deaf is to assist in empowering deaf persons so they can realize their fullest potential and contribute to nation building as best as possible. Generally speaking, we advance the interest of them and try to look out for their needs.
Okay, awesome. Help me to get a better understanding of the day-to-day needs of Jamaicans who are deaf. Can you sort of paint a picture of what it is like in the day of the life of a person who is deaf?
Well, the day-to-day life of a deaf person is no different from a regular Jamaican person. The distinguishable factor that differs is their communication access.
Right.
Sometimes there's not provision for them to be able to communicate in Jamaican Sign Language. Say, for instance, if you're having an event and there are no interpreters there, they will be at a disadvantage because they don't know what is happening, what they're talking about. So that is one of their biggest challenge of the deaf person in Jamaica. Communication
so in terms
access.
of going to the store, going to the supermarket, going to the doctor, going to school, what are some of the ways that the JAD would facilitate persons who are deaf, accessing services or meeting these needs?
Well, we offer Jamaica Sign Language training to corporate Jamaica. So persons who they have deaf clients, they're able to communicate with them. We also offer social services for all deaf persons. We offer, we have schools for the deaf as well. We have schools in various parishes in Clarendon, Portland, St. Anne, and Kingston as well. Yeah, so we offer a variety of services to assist. We have family support services for deaf parents who, say for instance, they go to the hearing services that we offer and they found out that their child is deaf. We have support services for those parents. We can identify schools that they can attend.
So do you also teach parents sign language so they can communicate?
Oh yes, we do. We do teach sign language to parents as well.
Right. So that part of your mandate, you spoke earlier of part of your mandate being to provide educational services to persons who are deaf and perhaps those who are hard of hearing as well. Can you tell us about those options as they're available and where and how can persons access these?
Right. Well, we offer education from preschool up to high school, and it's a bilingual education. They learn both written English as well as Jamaican Sign Language. You can find our schools in Kingston. We have Listomere Gilby High School in Kingston. We have Danny Williams Primary School in Kingston as well. We also have preschool that is in Kingston. St. Christopher School for the Deaf, that is in St. Anne Brownstown. We have the Maypen unit, which is in Clarendon, and the Portland unit. There are also other partners who offer education in deaf education, like the Jamaica Christian School for the Deaf and Caribbean Christian Center for the Deaf, right? Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And they all offer support from preschool straight up to high school. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what happens after that?
Well, there are skills screening, because they can go to Heart, because sometimes Heart does have facilities for them. But there's we have several deaf students who are at Edna Manley School. We have persons at UWI and also at UTech. We also recently got a grant from Environmental Foundation of Jamaica, where we train persons in paper making. So we'd use a recycled paper, and we'll make paper as well as make products from it. So we were able to train the staff at the bindery, and there in turn will be training other unattached deaf youth, so they can be skilled trained, have a certificate in training.
I know that you have the hearing health services as part of your social services for persons who are deaf. What can you tell us about that, and how can people access this service?
Right, we offer, we cater to babies, from babies to adulthood. And we also cater to corporate Jamaica as well. So it's the Jamaican public that we offer our services to. So we do hearing screening. So if you want to have your regular testing, you can come to us and have your ears done. We also do accessories. So for persons who work in noise-prone industries, we may customize noise plugs. Or even if you want to do swimming, or if you're an entertainer, we do plugs, customized plugs for them as well.
Awesome. So I guess persons before now would have thought that Jamaica Association for the Deaf would only cater to persons who are deaf, but you're actually saying you actually cater to persons who are hearing.
Right, we do.
Particularly if they work in industries that there is much noise that would perhaps contribute to them becoming deaf. So you do some prevention work
yes,
as well.
We do. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. A word to our persons out there who may have deaf persons who are friends, family members. Just know that the deaf person, like any other Jamaican, can. Deaf can. Awesome. Thank you so much for speaking with us, Ms. Badjo. It's been such a pleasure. There is still so much to discuss as it relates to persons who are deaf and the issues of social support. And we'll be doing so in the next episode. So be sure to tune in next time to the PBCJ's A Different Life. I'm Dr. Christine Hendricks. Thanks for watching.